speaking of sexualized frogs, I want to talk about the Cuties documentary on Netflix.
Can we nominate that for the worst segue in history of segues?
Sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish things simply are true without checking facts first. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
It's Dave and Ryan, December 1773. As always, bottom right of the screen, hit the subscribe button. I think that's right. Hit the subscribe button right now because you need to get more of this good content that we have. We put out a weekly show and some other little clips here and there, and you need to be subscribed to follow all that. So make sure you subscribe. And without any further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Ryan and, take it away there.
How's it going, my friend?
It's been football's back. I don't know if we want to leave.
Back.
I don't know if we want to leave with that, but football's back. I just got done. Spoiler alert for people who don't pay attention. I'm from Buffalo. Ryan's in the Buffalo area, so naturally, I'm a massive Buffalo Bills fan, and they put the boots to the Jets. It was pretty ugly. I think the Bills. I think the Bills tried to keep them in it with some fumbles and some missed field goals from a rookie kicker, and didn't go. They still couldn't get back into it. So, yeah, Bills knocked the Jets out. If you're a Jets fan, I am so sorry for what you're about to experience this season.
Yeah, the Bills played rather well too.
Yeah. Josh Allen was a man on fire.
Yeah. Yep. Just had a franchise record. He had a, personal best record, all that other stuff. But we're starting with football because now officially football is now political.
Yes.
It's official. It's official. So we'll be covering football here on the December 17th, 73 podcast from probably the rest of the season. We'll be able to reference it in one way or another.
So let's start right off. The Thursday night football game, there was the Chiefs and the Texans. And there was a couple weird things going on. The anthem, the Texans didn't come out for it at all. They were in the locker room. And then they had like a separate moment of silence where they could have kind of stood together in unity. And then there was I heard clear as day there was booing going on. There's reports from fans that were at the game, and they said that they weren't booing the like unity moment that they had, whatever you want to call it. They were booing the Texans for staying in the locker room during the anthem. I don't know. Obviously that's all. One person says one thing, one person says the other. And then the other thing they're doing is obviously it's COVID friendly football. So in Buffalo they can't have any fans. In Kansas City they were limited to 20% or 25%. So they had like 17,000 fans in. It was kind of weird, the COVID thing. Like everyone's got these masks on, and again we talk about in one of the last episodes we talked about like the show of COVID, like Fauci being on the mound with the mask, and then he was up in the stands and he didn't have the mask. So these players get arm in arm. They're standing right next to each other. They're touching each other. They don't have masks on. They're doing their moment of silence. And then after that, Mahomes and Deshaun Watson, the quarterback for the Chiefs and Texans, go out for a coin toss, and they have their masks on. Like they were arm in arm 35 seconds ago. They go out for the coin toss. They got to have the masks on. It's this whole COVID thing. It's all about the show. I'm telling you. If there was any serious worry, there would have been. First of all, there would have been no season. But they wouldn't not have a mask and then 30 seconds later have a mask. It's all about the show. It's annoying. And the other thing
we've said it here for a while. We've said it here for a while on December.
Yeah.
Just the whole thing that it's not that the virus isn't real or the science or anything of that nature. It's just that this has been super hyper polarizing and politicized. and now we're seeing it trickle into the NFL as this thing. They were also able to, where it was on the lower part of their helmet in the back, they were able to have any kind of social slogan they wanted, which, you know what, honestly, as I was watching it, it didn't take away from my football experience at all. And I think, honestly, they should have been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
It can help raise money. Our coach in Buffalo and some of the teams are sponsoring with the city of Buffalo, and they're going to donate money to get internet to children in the inner city that don't have access to it and stuff. So, like, maybe it all sounds positive, you know, and I really do hope the people that booed at the Kansas City game that it was for a distaste for the Texans staying in the locker room and not that they were just being assholes.
Yeah. So I feel like there's so much to cover on this. A couple of things. The names on the helmet. We talked about this before. Like, Kaepernick kneeing wasn't contributing to anything. He said he was bringing whatever the cause to the people or whatever, but it didn't contribute to anything. It just caused havoc and people arguing about the kneeling and the anthem. The names on the helmet are a totally different thing. This is clearly about social justice, and it just has a different feel to it.
Yeah, the names especially because obviously some of these have been so polarizing and hyper politicized once again. They've been spun in the media. Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor. Did I say that one already? I'm sorry. Jacob Blake when he was shot in Wisconsin. I'm sorry. Let me start over. Yeah, and it's been, especially those names, they've been all hyper polarizing in the media, and they've been politicized for statements and everything else, like Breonna Taylor and Jacob Blake. You know, when in some of the scenarios, you know, it's not justification and anything. We've discussed. It's amazing we started this podcast with all this going on, and we've covered these. We've covered these briefly. We've covered some more than others, but regardless of anything, we've basically covered these nearly every week about these shootings. But it comes out like, at least in the ones that we've covered here, that there was either criminal behavior or something. There was more to it than just this narrative that's been pushed by the media and politicians.
Yeah,
many things can be true at the same time, and I think that's something we all need to remember here and take this with grace and individual resolve to the issue. You know, and that's what we're kind of missing here. We're not getting that breakdown on the news. We're just getting, you know, it don't matter. Like I said, we've covered it on this podcast. I've seen things about the same shooting using the same script in mainstream news articles. They're just pumping content out. They're just flooding our news feeds with it, the timelines that we establish in these social medias. And we can't get it off our mind. They've actually hijacked the tragedy.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
So the thing is with the NFL, and I don't have the exact list, but I think there's a list of approved things that you can put on the back of your helmet, and some of them are like slogans, end racism, stop hate, you know, whatever it may be. The NFL in the past has been very strict about players doing things outside of a certain way, like things with their uniforms. I remember there was I can't remember who it was. I think it was a player for the Carolina Panthers. I don't remember exactly, but I think his mother had breast cancer. And obviously in October, NFL does the whole breast cancer awareness thing where they all wear pink and whatever. And it was outside of October. He wanted to wear, like, I think it was like the ribbons or something on his NFL cleats. And the NFL said no. They said you can't do it. If you do it, we're going to fine you. So I don't know. Maybe I think this is a good thing for multiple reasons. I think the NFL should loosen up a little bit. Obviously, you can't wear different jerseys and stuff, but somebody wants to have specialized cleats or, you know, a name on the back of their helmet or something. I don't see how that changes the game for the NFL. They shouldn't. They always felt like sticklers to me. I think this is probably a move in the right direction in terms of that. I will say, if I was an NFL player, I don't know if I would wear Jacob Blake on the back of my helmet. I don't think that's a good. Again, it's tough. You don't want to justify somebody getting shot just based on, accusations and things like that. But he does not seem like he would have been the type of role model or the type of name that's good for the cause.
Well, it appears that, I mean, the way the media spun it initially out of the gate with half-cooked truths, and then the politicians right afterwards, and then the real narrative came out. The 2 or 3 days it took to get all the facts on that case in particular. Now it looks like these people put their foot in their mouth. Now there's already national outcry. There was the riots. I think it was within the first day, right? That night of protesting turned to the shooting with Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah.
I mean, it was 0 to 100.
Yeah.
There was no growth. It was just, tsunami to tidal wave.
Right. Yeah.
And by the time they do anything with it, they've already lied or mistaked, and the retraction in a news article never gets the same amount of reads as the initial statement, and politicians don't backtrack.
Sure.
It's the typical thing.
The thing that's tricky is you would want ideally people to kind of pause. It's a sad thing. You don't want to see people getting shot, obviously. But you almost want everyone to just pause, wait for the truth to come out. But I guess the conflicting thing to that is the Breonna Taylor incident. And again, the whole case hasn't been thought out or anything, but it's been months since that happened. And it seems like nothing's really happened with it. So it's kind of a tricky thing. Like, you want people to be patient, but at the same time, like, how patient do they need to be? Like, how long does it take to come to a conclusion in the Breonna Taylor incident?
And I think this should speed up our court system. Between COVID, how we can't do it in person, so the way they're handling tickets, the government's going to be greedy to get money and pull you over. I believe that 100%. They're going to look at you as a revenue source more than just taxes. They're going to get you with tickets and fines and surcharges. But we should really look at cruel and unusual punishment should include waiting too long to be tried or have a trial for you or against you or whatever. It should be, I understand there's a lot of cases and a lot of things to go through, but we got to find a way to clean that. It shouldn't take a year to get a trial date.
No, you wouldn't think so, and I don't know why. I'm not in the judicial system, obviously, so I don't understand why things take as long as they do. Again, part of these, the Baltimore Ravens, they did a segment about it, and the Baltimore Ravens are actually, they're not just doing what the NFL wants them to do, where they put the name on their helmet and then they, take their stand or whatever. The Baltimore Ravens made a big deal about actually making, a cause and doing something, and they were in contact. I think they wrote a letter or sent a video or something to Mitch McConnell to put forth a bill to vote, that would include things like mandatory body cams and things like that. These are actual actions that can be taken to kind of speed up this judicial process. Because I think part of the issue is they got to do the investigation first, and if there was only one person wearing a body camera and he's not allowed to release it or whatever, there's just too many unanswered things when maybe it could be a lot easier.
Right. And it's probably harder when places want to cut the budgets of the police.
Yeah, that probably doesn't help. I mean,
you want to lessen resources to do the exact cause. And, it showed Senator Tim Scott, I believe he's from South Carolina. He had the great statement at the RNC this year that said that within one generation, his family went from picking cotton to Congress. Before his grandfather died, he saw him become the first elected black congressman in his state.
Yeah, that's a super powerful line, too.
Yeah, from cotton to Congress in one generation. 100 years. That's what his family did. And he brought forth the criminal justice bill right after the George Floyd stuff. He brought it up for a vote, and it got shot down. Just like we've seen with the stimulus bills. It seems like this. I don't want to make it sound like it's a conspiracy and they're nefarious for reasons, man. But yeah, they know exactly. We've covered it on this podcast before. They know exactly what they're doing and why they do it. And it's not right. It's really not right. There's a meme going around right now that says $1,200 stimulus given 3 months ago or whatever it's been, right? And then underneath it said, for $6 a day, you can sponsor an American citizen.
Yeah.
Because basically, if you take the $1,200, break it down by how many days, that's what they pretty much gave you, was what? $5 to $7 to $15, whatever it is, for a couple days, for 100 days. I'm glad that's helped.
I didn't really do the math, to be honest with you, but it doesn't sound like much.
No, I believe the $6, just doing it quick in my head. I mean, yeah, so it's funny that we have all these duplicities, and but I am happy as well as you are. I agree with you as far as the NFL and the cause. I'm all for protests. I'm all for getting narratives to change. And you know what? I'll say that I've been pretty harsh on people ignoring things and flocking to football and sports and other distractions. I have my distractions as well, but I relatively stay dabbled in politics. So to me, it's a more justified thing per se, right? Not that I'm judging anybody, but I'm happy that this can kind of like something's happening with these people that I always looked at as distractions. Like once again, I said it on this podcast a few weeks ago that it's probably the most patriotic thing to do is to have this type of dialogue and everything else. Even if it does seem like it's pandering, some people say that, like some of the commercials and the way it's produced or whatever. But this can only bring good things, I think.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I rather
look at it as that.
Yeah, and I rather have what they're doing now. Like I said, I rather what they do now versus what Kaepernick did. And to be honest, I'd probably prefer what Kaepernick did to riots. So this is, in my mind, this is 2 steps above, 2 big steps above rioting. It's much better to do it this way. It's peaceful. Maybe it's a little in your face, but I get it.
And I'll go a step further. We almost look at, not me in particular, but I know some people, younger kids that are in sports and they want to be just like Josh Allen or these other amazing Tom Brady athletes and want to be the next greatest. It gives them drives and dedications and hard work ethic and all the positives that come with all of that. I never got experience like that. But these people are becoming like a superhero. You know what I mean? Like this is like a Tony Stark moment.
Yeah.
To like use your platform, use everything and try to like bring change in the world that you are. And it's kind of funny because they're like celebrities, right? They're just athletes. So they're celebrities, but nobody's telling them to shut up like we do to Leonardo DiCaprio or all these. Like we don't care about celebrities' opinions. I mean, that is a narrative painted, but dude, most of those people came from the gutter.
Yeah.
They're freak athletes, but they work all of them work so hard to get there.
Yeah.
Like physically, like the amount of dedication and ethics you have to train your body and mind to do some of these feats that humans do. Like these guys, honestly, out of any celebrity, out of any distraction, out of any pool of people that you could pick of that was not the average American, it should be athletes. And with children looking up to them and everything else, this is super good. And I don't think that they're going to get the camaraderie that we should give them for trying to have a platform, use a platform, and utilize a platform.
Yeah, and I rather
in ways that can't be disputed. I mean, you can't dispute some of their stories.
Yeah, and I rather the focus be on positive things like they're trying to do now, versus in the past it always seemed like, oh, this NFL player got arrested for this NFL player got arrested for that, this NFL player's under investigation. I much rather they're doing something positive like this.
Yeah, and you're right. That's something I didn't look at, comparing them to superheroes, that some of these guys have had criminal activity or they do something stupid or DWIs and stuff. And nobody's perfect. But maybe this will kind of like elevate the standard for everybody, that they all kind of look at themselves in the mirror and be like, I'm a role model for end racism or Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, now they're almost role models.
Blue line.
Now they're almost role models for 2 reasons. Yeah. They're twice the role model, really.
Yeah. And to themselves, like maybe there would be more when they put that thing on there, if they feel that strongly about that charity or whatever, their self-investment in there is for a cause, and they're trying to, once again, utilize that platform to bring change. And that should be commended. That should be, like, we should cheer that on in the human experience. Yeah. I mean, that's literally the same thing we're doing here at December 1773. We're just trying to help the world any way we can, or, try to get our voices heard for what we believe and have conversation, like start a conversation, which is the art of conversation has been lost in today's age.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, the NFL should be commended for this. It should not be, once again, you brought up the Texans and the booing thing. Either which way, this should only bring good and positive things.
Yeah.
And people should not be so shitty about it.
It's kind of funny. I said on the page a while back, like this was months ago, long before the season started. I remember saying they should have 2 separate events. They should have the anthem where everybody stands and honors the anthem. Because if it's truly about not disrespecting the flag, not disrespecting the anthem, if it's truly about bringing a name to a cause, then this would work for everybody. Everyone stands for the anthem. You do your thing. You show respect, and then you have a separate event where, okay, now it's about bringing the name to the cause. It can all be televised. You're all bringing, everyone's kind of getting what they want. It could have been the easiest thing in the world. That's why when I was so disheartened when I heard the boos, and again, I don't know, I wasn't there. They're saying it wasn't booing that, but if it was, I think that's disgraceful. I think that's a sad event if they were truly booing the moment of unity. And again, fans that were there said that's not the case, but I don't know. I wasn't there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, let's be realistic. It's probably like 50% for either way, So there was definitely some people being evil in that way for some reason. But yeah, awesome day of football. I think we can segue from this, but yeah, football was awesome today. So good job NFL. Good job players. It's cool. Like I said, it didn't harbor my experience. It actually kind of made it cool that they had the things on their helmets. Bring a lightness to their cause, which anybody would want to do. I mean, how many people go for runs for cancer and all these other causes that you do in your local community? Well, at least my local team, the Buffalo Bills, is doing just that. They're pulling their money. They're giving resources to the community. They're starting conversation, which is everything that we need right now in 2020 when everything divides us. So good job, NFL. It was an awesome football weekend. And, yeah, you want to jump into the headlines that you have?
Yeah. This is our new segment. We don't really do segments. We were talking about this before the camera hit. We're kind of a pretty... I don't know how to say this. I don't know how to say this without sounding bad. We're pretty unscheduled, I guess would be a good way to put it. It's
Shooting
more just
from the hip.
Sure, it's a lot of natural conversation. There's no teleprompters. There's no segments. There's no pre-planned stuff. With that said,
no notes. We just have things written down and pictures taken. There's nothing is scripted on this program.
Literally the only thing I do, the only show prep I do is I screenshot a couple headlines, and then we do the segment, new segment now. It's called Headlines.
And Dave does the editing, which he does a phenomenal job.
Yeah,
that's it. This is a live recording. It's edited, but there's no. This is all fresh. This is all shooting from the hip. This is all stuff and real in the moment. No rehearsal. So
yeah.
But yeah,
to be clear,
Dave, I'm sorry.
To be clear, there's not as much editing as you'd expect. There really isn't.
I guess that's a good sign for us.
Yeah, there's a pretty fairly minimal amount of editing. So headlines.
All right, headlines.
This comes from New York Post, which is like New York Times, but the opposite.
But smaller.
But smaller and not left-leaning media.
Not supported by a Democrat National Committee member.
This one here says Trump nominated for second Nobel Peace Prize following Serbia-Kosovo deal. 2 Peace Prize nominations for President Donald Trump.
Congratulations, Donald Trump. Even though, obviously, this is a committee. And for the did you have what country it came from? Who recommended him? Because I know it's from a foreign country. I want to say it was like Bulgaria or something. I don't want to misspeak, but these are obviously just things put forward by people that don't actually pick. So this holds no water other than it's basically an accolade that, like, hey, he was nominated for this by this person. It goes to a committee, and then it gets voted on, and then that person gets it or not. Barack Obama received one, I believe, in 2009 or 2010 for his ideas on how to fix the economy after the Great Recession. So this would not be the first president to receive a Nobel Peace Prize. I don't know if any others have, but...
Headlines. Can you keep it rolling? This is interesting to me. Just because the narrative of the left, this is like the most ironic thing you could possibly read. Biden loses his Florida lead as Latino voters shift to Trump.
It's pretty substantial, isn't it?
It's amazing. It's like they don't think the wall is racist.
I work with a guy. He is he's a first generation American. His family is from Mexico. He grew up in the South, in the state of Texas, and he lives up here now. He is all for the wall. He's seen opening legal immigration, and he has a brother-in-law that works for Border Patrol. And I've seen the videos of the way they treat those people. They got it pretty good considering everything. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the
But he's seen people sneak into this country floating over the Rio Grande River with garbage bags around their neck. He's told me the stories. It's incredible, and he's all for the wall, and he's a big Trump supporter. And
There we
I
go.
live in a super blue state, and when I first met this guy, I guess you call it microaggression right nowadays, but I just assumed he was a Democrat hating Trump because of
You
media narratives.
stereotyping racist SOB.
Yeah. Well, I made a Trump joke. I didn't want to offend him. I don't want to lose my job first week there. Because once again, we talk religion and politics in my family.
Yes, almost exclusively.
Almost exclusively.
This one, exciting news. We shared this on our page. This is exciting news if you're a libertarian. The LP, Libertarian Party, officially has ballot access in all 50 states and DC.
Congratulations.
So that's pretty big.
Good
I don't
job,
know if
Libertarian.
I don't know if they had that in 2016 or not. But they got it now. That's pretty big. And this goes back to what we said a while back. Like if they have ballot access in all 50 states, if and when we have debates, why aren't they allowed?
Yep.
They're a viable voting option.
Up there.
They're a viable voting option for anyone in any state, and even the District of Columbia. So that's kind of weird, but good news for them. I thought this was The Onion or like Babylon Bee or whatever when I first read this, but it turns out this is true. You might have seen this. Transsexual satanist anarchist wins GOP nomination for sheriff in New Hampshire in New Hampshire County. I think
Say it again.
I don't know if I can say it again. This is like tongue twister. Transsexual, Satanist, anarchist. It's three pretty cool things. Wins GOP nomination, even further, for sheriff in New Hampshire's county. I don't know exactly what county it is, but holy cow. Cheshire County.
Is an anarchist is working for the police, working for the state.
Yeah, it's for a sheriff job. And it turns out, even better than this, the person goes on to say, a victory, she says, proves the system is utterly hopeless and broken.
Sounds broken to me.
I don't know.
Real broken to me.
Good for she. I think it's a she. I don't know.
Zer?
I don't want to. It says she in the article. I don't want to assume gender. If I assume gender here, it's second party assumption because I'm just reading it from my headline.
You can also sue us.
You cannot sue us. I will fight you if you sue us. Cruz calls on DOJ to investigate Netflix Cuties. Filmmaker.
I would like to talk about this.
Okay, and then the second headline is kind of related.
Okay.
But Netflix lost $9 billion in market share after the cancel Netflix hashtag.
It trended very strongly.
Pedophilia is flat out rejected in society right now. I think we need to keep it that way.
That's good. I'm glad it only took 60 years. So I have two quick headlines, and then I want to do a little deep dive on the cuties with you.
Okay.
And then also, to some extent, some of the creepy pedo stuff with a story I have of a family friend of mine.
Do you want to circle back? Because I got a couple more.
Okay, I'll just spit my two quick if you wouldn't mind. Because they came across on my phone. I've done zero things other than seeing them while recording this broadcast.
This is headlines. This is what we do.
This is headlines while we've been recording. Steve Bannon has ties to China, apparently.
Okay.
So I'm anxious to see how that...
That sounds vague, though. I can't wait to see
how...
Sounds
kind of like probably 80% of Congress. And Joe Biden's son.
Doesn't everyone have ties to China?
I would imagine.
Doesn't
America have ties to China? It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I can pick something off my desk right now and it's made in China, I guarantee you.
Your phone is.
How deeply tied.
My other headline for the day is state is going to allow 16-year-olds to vote, possibly. So here in America, you can pick your gender and pick your president all in the same middle school.
You're in high school and 16, come on.
Yeah, you can,
I mean, you could be in middle school if you aren't very good in school. You might still be in middle school.
Apparently you didn't have friends like mine.
I hung out with all types.
I had degenerates for friends, so.
Yes, have some of those for sure.
Yeah, I don't even want to post-fix that, but my friends, they know I love them, and they know I'm just kidding. But
Yes.
we were degenerates, though. We had a good time.
Yes. We also.
And this is
we
why I
all-
do this. This is why I have hobbies. So.
Headlines. Bill Clinton to launch his own podcast.
What's going to be called?
Naked
Bill
and
the
Afraid.
Toucher?
No.
Naked and Afraid.
Uh,
Naked with cigars.
yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see what this podcast is going to be like. I don't know if he'll come on our show. He's Bill Clinton.
But
if he
we should
does-
so put out an official press release to him.
I will offer him on the show. Bill Clinton he'd be a special guest.
Extra
Bernie
special
Sanders
guest, Bill Clinton.
headlines. Bernie Sanders is getting nervous about the Biden campaign.
What was he nervous about? He endorsed them. Thought he
Yeah,
had
but he's nervous that he's losing.
Okay. You mean like when Latino voters are suddenly going to the racist anti-Latino candidate?
Yeah, that's not good.
If you
That's
don't know
usually-
who you're voting for, you ain't black. So
That's usually a big tell. That's not good. Headlines.
dude, it's amazing they're still sinking with the ship. Hillary Clinton did it in 2016 with Obamacare. She got up there on stage and said, there's problems with Obamacare, but we're gonna fix that and all this. And
Yeah.
Obamacare was supposed to be the great fix for what was already a disastrous
Yeah.
system that worked.
Not
And then she gets up there and sinks with the ship, and the Democrats are sinking with their ship again on the police defunding, the riots, the looters,
yeah. So
defending criminals.
not to get too off topic, but speaking of Obamacare, do you remember when Obamacare was first coming out and President Barack Obama promised that premiums would be reduced by $2,500, and then they went up on average by $2,500? I think that was the exact math. Whatever. It was totally wrong.
It's
I
not
saw
important.
a Biden ad where he was promising to reduce premiums, healthcare premiums. So if you vote for Joe Biden, maybe he'll reduce your healthcare premiums. Maybe he'll get it back to the $2,500. Maybe he'll get it back to the other way. Make it
Has
a
he ever
net
ran
zero.
on this? Has he ever ran on this in one of his other 50 times of trying to be president for America?
I don't know.
It's
He
weird
did
how
that-
long the guy's been in politics, and he thinks he's going to bring change now when he hasn't
Well,
brought change.
He brought
Other
change.
than a racist crime bill.
I was gonna say he brought change before, but
Apparent racist.
it raised everyone's premiums. So hopefully he doesn't bring that change again. Back to headlines. Florida city repeals saggy pants law. Critics claimed unfairly targeted African Americans.
What, saggy pants? I can pull you over?
Yes, something like that. I don't know if they could just fine you or whatever. So here's the
Sounds
thing.
awfully vague.
Here's the thing that it targets African Americans. It doesn't, because if you're white, if you're white and your pants are sagging, you are also in effect. The only reason somebody would think it targets African Americans is if they're racistly saying that only African Americans sag their pants. So I don't know. Maybe that's what they're saying. Did you see the report on the Trump administration taking the money away from the 9/11 FDNY, whatever the Responders Fund or whatever the hell it was called?
I know nothing of this.
Okay, so there was a report put out. A couple different people put it out. I remember seeing it on New York Times, but they basically said that the Trump administration took like $4 million away from the first responders from 9/11, and this report came out like a day before 9/11 or 2 days before. Forbes
Sounds awfully political.
Yeah, so Forbes did what's called investigating, and they found that the money wasn't funneled away. They just were withholding funds because New York City owed deficits to the federal government.
Oh, so it was the state's problem, and then they push it onto the federal government?
Yes, so I fully suspect
Something Andrew Cuomo would never do that.
No, so
He's
I fully
the greatest governor of all governors.
and given
And
New
also
York,
the highest paid.
and given the fact New York Times is a very viable, reputable journalistic site, I suspect that they will change the headline to state that Andrew Cuomo held $4 million from first responders in 9/11. They won't. So that's that. Joe Rogan podcast, great podcast. For people who don't know, he moved to Texas, and apparently fans are not happy with his new setup. I don't know if you saw the new studio. I think it looks cool. It's all red. It looks like an airplane cockpit or whatever. I don't know what he was going for. I think it was
I
pretty
have.
cool.
I have an opinion on why he did that.
Ooh.
He wanted it to be this crazy, out of this world stage. Like, think of all the guests that guy has had on. He's had on movie stars, rock stars. He's had on politicians.
He's had on
Elon Musk. He's had Alex Jones on. He's had military members, UFC fighters, professional athletes, doctors,
comedians,
astrophysicists. He's taken everything that is mainstream and kind of done his own thing to make his own mainstream and give us all these awesome podcasts. So I think to him, like, the rooms hold energy. I believe that. And like, I think to him, he was just like, you know what, dude, I need this place to be almost like a door that he opens into like the creative part of his mind. Like, it's this out of this world, not normal. It's different. It's cool. It's modern. It's ancient. It's all these. It looks weird because that is, like I said, it's a creative space, and I think he's utilizing the space to kind of make it hold that energy, that creative energy that makes it.
Yeah. If you're watching this live right now, comment below. What do you think of our studio? I know you can't tell because, to quote Biden, sort of, he is the light and I am the dark. As you can see, you can't see much except me. If you want to see, I could show you. It's basically a brown sheet, which is really nice and tasteful. I think it's how do you measure sheets? It's like cotton or something.
Counts.
Counts.
It's like thread
counts. Yeah. That's what it is.
The higher, the more like.
Yeah. So this is like
beautiful it is on your hand.
Yeah, this is like a 50 thread count sheet. It's really nice. 50 is bad, I think.
Abrasive.
It's
very abrasive.
It's sandpaper.
It's 36 grit.
I could take the paint off a car. So this is the other one I saw. My dad pointed this out. It's kind of the first thing I thought too when I saw it, but my dad pointed this out. The left is always claiming to be like this great like bastion of science. And this is Pelosi's thoughts on the wildfires in California. To quote her, "Mother Earth is angry." So that's science.
The party that hates religion makes Mother Nature a religion.
Sure, yeah, hate religion, love science, and then their answer to wildfires is Mother Earth's angry, I guess. It's not
Gaia. We must sacrifice lambs on the altar of the state.
It's not because the state government of California has done an atrocious job of clearing out the forests of all the old dead debris, dry old trees and leaves. That has nothing to do with it. Mother Earth is angry.
You're wrong. You're wrong on your definition of what it means to be a conservationist.
I'm not a conservationist.
Unless they just really like, maybe since Joe Rogan left and went to Texas and has red light bulbs in the studio, they're like, Joe, we got red lights. It's just all the lights are red. Here, come back to California.
Maybe they're trying to drive even more people out. Maybe too many people are still there.
Dude, can you imagine a sky like Tatooine from Star Wars, all orange and people? My favorite thing was like people are like, looks like Mars. It's like, bro, Mars is red, not the air.
Yeah, no, it's very different.
I'm not a scientist, but I know that. I also know the Earth is round, apparently.
Mostly, I don't think it's perfectly round. It's mostly round.
Humans have only known for like 5,000 years. So
it's much more round than it is flat. I know that much.
Is that all you have for our headline segment?
That's headlines. Brought to you by nobody. It's brought to you by us. Yeah, we brought it to you. Nope, they don't. I don't know if we could say that if it's not true. That's fake news.
All right, that was a joke. Satire. I'll pull the Alex Jones. I'm a satire channel. Like, dude, you say you're a news source. I still have credibility, right? Kind of. Give one of these to you.
Yeah, like the yes, no nod.
That's what we call in the professional realm career suicide.
He hits the nail on the head sometimes.
Yeah, he's swinging with an awfully big hammer.
Yeah, he's blindfolded swinging at moving pinatas.
Yeah, he's in the dark. Shot in the dark, but you're too late is about Alex Jones. You gave news a bad name.
He's coming back. Is he coming back to Spotify? Did I hear that? Is that a total thing I made up in my head? Is Spotify welcoming Alex Jones to their platform?
I don't know why they wouldn't. The guy is highly entertaining.
If he brings enough viewers, they're going to make money on it. Why wouldn't they?
I don't know, man. It's really about being entertained, right?
I think
that's
so.
The purpose of these services that we consume is to be entertained and to enjoy the time that you spent distracted or absolved into those things. They're supposed to be entertaining and capture your imagination. Right. And
are you not entertained?
You would assume. Oh my God! Somebody should do that make a meme of Russell Crowe spin around with Alex's head on it. The frogs are freaking gay. Are you not entertained?
It turns out he was. What would you rate that story? Is that a half truth?
Yeah, he was right. He was right in the fact. He was right in the fact that there was, at least in one instance, there was an area that there was chemicals in the water that were turning the frogs gay.
But was it turning them gay, or was it like just making them?
They were flipping sex.
Sure, like clownfish.
So like the male frog would lay down on his back, thinking it's a woman, basically, and then another male frog
would climb on top.
Would do his thing, and yeah, it was dude on dude. Like, you weren't gonna impregnate that frog, but they both thought they were females, basically.
Did he interview the
something
frogs?
Along that line. I'm not a scientist.
Did he interview the frogs to know that they weren't gay before the chemicals hit the water?
Yeah, maybe he choked them out.
Some of them might be into it because of the chemicals.
These BDSD or BDSM.
We've gone off the rails fairly early. We're not talking about highly sexualized gay frogs with leather and lace and chains.
Speaking of sexualized frogs, I want to talk about the Cuties documentary on Netflix.
Can we nominate that for the worst segue in history of segues?
That should be the opening clip of this podcast.
Oh my God.
The pre-intro should be that clip.
Good Lord. An attempt was made. Let's talk about
a highly inappropriate sexualized joke.
The good news is it's not nearly as gross as Cuties, so I think we're okay.
All right. So I'm gonna preface a couple things. I have not seen Cuties personally. I have seen the poster. I've seen everybody bugging out about it. If you go over to the Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro has actually seen the video, and he gives his breakdown on it. Now, he even says himself, a few things can be true at the same time, and he's right.
That's almost always right.
Yeah, and his breakdown is good of it. But at the end of it, what he really breaks down is basically Cuties was a public relations nightmare with a good intention behind it. Now, most people, like I saw initially, it was the poster of all the kids, very young children, like preteen, adolescent girls, dressed in very short things, doing very highly explicit things for their age. It comes out that apparently the director of the film said that was her purpose of this film, was to show the highly sexualization of our children through the things they are learning on the internet, because some of the things going on in their life, or maybe it's the environment they are in, they're missing aspects, or they need a role model or a father figure or a better, whatever it is. There's something going on, and then these motions are being put in that, they're getting all their stuff from basically the Instagram Kim Kardashian Instagram model type influence, because they're lacking it from somewhere else. And he even brings up, and it's a good point, he said, this does teeter on exploitation of these young women, but it also brings up that they're using that like shock value to draw you into it. Now, that's exactly the angle I think they went. There is a level of exploitation there, because, you could argue you're showing what you're showing and you're making money on it. So yeah, there's some exploitation there like anything else. But I think overall this was like I said, the PR was a bad rollout. Their
So-
poster didn't do them any good. But it's actually the moral of the movie is that we should be paying attention to our young females and making sure that they're not being sexualized by culture, by the internet, by institutions like dancing or whatever else. That is, I'm going in a little more of it. Like I said, I have not seen it personally, but the breakdowns that I have seen and heard about it, overall, it was actually like it may have been a more healthy thing than it's being portrayed.
So the filmmaker wanted to bring light to the fact that children are being over-sexualized.
Yes.
And then potentially what I'm guessing happened is the filmmaker and Netflix kind of split a little bit about how to share this movie and how to get it out there. That's gonna, because if the filmmaker's intent was to bring light to the fact that these children are being exploited, and Netflix, the way they kind of, I don't know how you want to put this, but the way Netflix put it out there was kind of different. It was kind of just, I don't know. From what I saw, it seemed like Netflix wasn't on the same page with the filmmaker, if that's the case.
Well, what if, I don't actually know. I'm sure that there is some intervention with creative liberty over at some of these streaming services like Netflix and Hulu and Spotify and everything else. But maybe Netflix kind of was laissez-faire and they were like, do whatever. I think honestly, I don't want to put it this way on such a topic, but Netflix needs to kind of be applauded. We shouldn't be canceling Netflix. If the object of the film was to show the highly exploitation, sexualization of young children through whatever system, and Netflix was like, yeah, we'll put it on. You know what I mean? Like, it should be applauded. Like, they're promoting free speech. They're promoting educating the public through shock. Yes, it is, once again, multiple things can be true. Yeah, there is a certain level of shock factor. There is a certain level of exploitation. But what is going to get greater out of it? But it's amazing how it was spun in all the social media things. People just saw the image, just as I did, like I said, but I haven't made public comments on it, and I've been telling people about the director's vision, the director's goal.
Sure.
And things of that nature. And that's the talking point. That it's amazing that the talking point should be about if our children are being exploited or not. Instead, the talking point has been turned into that Netflix is pushing pedophilia.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Basically.
And if that's all true, then Netflix did a horrible job of marketing.
I don't think they did market. Honestly, if I was Netflix, I was a streamer to the creator, I'd be like, at least with that one, they were probably like, dude, how much money do we make? All right. Do whatever you're going to do, and we're just going to you can stream it on our service, but we're going to have no hand in this because we don't want the blowback.
I don't think
Netflix can afford to lose all that money, man.
No,
they'll bounce back.
I'm going to 100% disagree with you. I guarantee Netflix is 100% behind how they market it. They're in charge of what comes on their platform. It's not like nobody saw this movie. So if that's the case, and then they marketed it differently, I don't know. I think somebody behind Netflix is 100% in charge of marketing these videos, and whoever marketed this one, I think they should lose their job, because I think they did a horrendous job marketing that.
Yeah, we'll see what comes out of it.
But as far as Netflix can afford to lose and as far as Netflix, like, they can afford to lose the money. I mean, I guess, like, I don't disagree that I don't think they're going to go under because they lost $9 billion in market share, but that's an issue.
They're probably worth 10 times that. They're probably worth 10 times that.
If it's an ongoing issue, though, and you have all this competition now, it's not like Netflix is the only game in town. You have Amazon Prime and Hulu and freaking who else? I mean, there's tons of them. Disney Plus. NBC's coming out with their own. It's going to be an issue if they can't. If this becomes a lingering issue, which I don't think it will, but.
Yeah, there was bad PR, but I also think this was picked up in the social media machine and spun. So there's some external factors there.
Yeah,
I can tie the cuties thing and the sexualization of children into a family story I have. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but two friends very close to my family and I, very awesome people. I love them both. They're great people. I'm not going to expose them on here.
I was going to say, I think I've met them once or twice, too.
Yeah, you have. You've met them at a few of our Halloween events.
Yeah, they seem very, very cool.
very cool people, very understanding. I love them. We have fun. We've known them for a while, all of that. I've known them pre-Donald Trump, before he even ran for president. They knew I was in politics then when they first met me, all of that. So they are, both of them, pulling Donald Trump. And they are, especially with their lifestyle and other things, they are as left as you can be left sometimes. We don't get into splitting hairs about universal basic income or public health education or what should be done with health. We don't go down that, the normal list we do on politicians. We just talk general things, like the general current events of the world most times. So it's not like this very in-depth breakdown of their political ideology. But they are pulling Trump, and they are pulling Trump because of mostly the things dealing. Some of it is conspiratorial to some degree, but all of the things with the missing children, the human trafficking, and everything along those lines of how there's this hypersexualization and utilization of children in America, in the world. And they feel that the people before that were partly involved, or they allowed it to happen, or they didn't know about it and did nothing. But they basically have said that once again, just like most people, they're not pulling Trump because they love him or because they have to. He's the lesser of two evils to them. But they believe that he is representing a type of America that they believe in, that necessarily Joe Biden doesn't believe in, or that most of the people in our elected positions don't believe in. Like they believe in the family, they believe in working, they believe in paying taxes. They just want to be good civilians. They want to be left alone and live their lives and die happy, old, and hopefully with some money. The American dream, everything what everybody looks for. And they feel that Donald Trump is going to provide like actual, that is part of his goal. Even he's the lesser of two evils to them, and for a lot of Americans, that's the way they look at it. That's been the saying for many years. But I never thought in a million years that these people would pull Trump. And I asked them how it felt to get red pilled, and they're like, "I wouldn't go that far." So I kind of pre-jumped the gun, but I told them that's the term. That's what it's called. It's just getting red pilled. You get woken up to being the Republicanism in you, because everybody's both. We've said it before on this program. I truly believe the parties, the average person, are more alike than they think. It's just those extremes of certain issues that divide us, and then the media utilizes us. But I think they're realizing that. And she said it was like a veil was lifted off her eyes, basically, and that she started to see through some stuff and just seeing the mainstream media machine and what it can do, and how politicians are basically legal criminals.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was. This is. I am not exclusive to this. This is just one story from one mouth, but there's thousands of this, I'm sure. And your headline about the polls of Hispanic Americans in Florida, was it? Is a prime example of that. I'm sure this is happening all over America. I'm sure people that hated Trump, and whether it's the lesser of two evils or now you're his biggest supporter, or the gradient in between, there's an exodus happening here.
Well, there was
something is actually happening, which is incredible.
There was
something to happen.
There was the other thing that we saw that was from my state of Pennsylvania, where the voter registration for Democrats in Pennsylvania was down like 70-something thousand, up 90,000 for Republicans, and up 40,000 for independents. I mean, that's a massive swing, and that's bad news if you're trying to win the Rust Belt, and Pennsylvania is swinging that hard in the opposite direction of you. And that's not a Biden versus Trump thing, but that's Democratic versus Republican, and that's bad news. If you're Joe Biden, you see that's not good for you.
Yeah, they've almost taken Pennsylvania for granted the last few years, because that's been a blue stronghold for probably 20 years.
Yeah, and in 16 they were red.
Yep, flipped in 16 up until Trump. And you could argue it's probably a purple state or the silent majority. The silent majority obviously was a real thing. That's what got Trump elected. It was obviously maybe not what they always talk about, like at this mythological voting base, but like no, the silent majority in that sense, that adjective fit what happened in states like Pennsylvania, Michigan as well. He won Florida as well, which wasn't expected, because once again, that's kind of a purple state, but was leaning blue. Boom, flipped on. All the polls was all blue, and then flipped on voting day. And I'll add one more thing about my friend before we move on to something else. She said that she cannot tell her parents that she is going to vote for Trump because they'll basically disown her. Her family, she's first generation immigrant. Her family is from Italy, or Spain. I'm sorry, Spain. And yeah, they're old school American, all that, immigrant American ideology, all that, and they hate Trump. And she's like, I can't even tell them because, like, basically it's going to do nothing, but they're going to come voting day. They're going to go pull the Trump lever in silence and not tell anybody about it. And I told her, I said, there's polls that say we'll shoot low here conservatively, but anywhere between 50 to 80% of Americans feel that. So that silent majority, that mass voting, mythological voting demographic is becoming another very real thing in this election that is, under the 60-day mark now.
That makes me think, when we talk about, like, the Libertarian Party, we mentioned as ballot access in all 50 states and the District of Columbia. It makes me wonder what they're doing as a party, because
the Democrats in particular.
No, the Libertarian Party.
Oh, okay.
Because you're, by all means, and I don't want to speak for other people, but your two friends seem like they would be prime libertarian, like, at least people who would consider it. Just based on, like, it sounds like they don't really love Trump, but they know he's not as terrible as Biden.
Yeah, a libertarian pick for them would seem like soft republicanism, kind of.
In a way.
Like, yeah, I won't commit all the way to this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's more like to the lines of they just want to be left alone and have a little bit of money when they, you know what I mean? Like, that's like.
Yeah. But
that seems like the ultimate libertarian push.
Republican idea.
Yeah. But I hear stories like that, and I almost wonder, like, what is the Libertarian Party doing wrong? Like, why are they not getting to these people?
Is it lack of funding, or do you think freedom is like a? Honestly, I think selling freedom is not easy when it seems like it's structure that keeps the world the way it is. When it's actually it's a balance of both, obviously, but you need freedom before you need the structure to have. Yeah. If you don't have the freedom to explore what kind of structure you need, you'll never know what kind of police or military or borders or whatever, And that's where kind of libertarians lose me a little bit, is in the border policy. I don't want endless wars, but I think it could be argued about our foreign policy. That's kind of where it would become a debate between what I believe in libertarians hardcore. But yeah, I agree with you, man. I think most people lean in that the yellow party, the Libertarian Party.
Yeah. And we've talked about that in the past too. That's kind of the same for me. Like, I kind of tend to be fairly libertarian, but when it comes to, like, foreign affairs, they lose me completely. And again, it's not that I want endless wars, but I don't think you just become this spineless Gary Johnson flubber type person. That, like,
what's Aleppo? Aleppo's what?
You got to have some kind of backbone. You got to know that other countries don't like you. It's not necessarily because you bombed another country that everybody hates you. That might contribute it. I don't know. Most people probably don't take kindly to being bombed. But you got to think that, it's the chicken and the egg thing. Like, does the Middle East hate us because we're bombing them, or do we bomb the Middle East because they attack us?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I think the bombing thing is a strategy that does not happen anymore. And I say that because I've heard from a retired military guy on his podcast, and he talked about the way that they've changed operations in the Middle East to develop relationships with the locals in which ways that they were not doing before. So I think that whole submersive, that whole dropping bombs in the Middle East, we probably still drop a ton of bombs.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure we're still dropping bombs in the Middle East.
I agree, but there is a different modus operandi when it comes to some of the military units and what they actually are doing. They may drop bombs, but they're still driving through that town instead of just driving through, be like, hey, we're America here to save you. They're actually getting out, talking to the locals, knowing the locals, getting them things, helping them get resources and water, and they're, everything that you could quote unquote call nation building. They're doing stuff like that, and it's worked, obviously, because for the first time in 20 years, there is not one, but there's two separate Middle East peace deals. Maybe not separate deals, but more people are joining on to the Middle East peace deal, recognizing Israel as its own state.
And I think there were actual separate peace deals.
Well, okay. I had Middle East peace deal talks as well. I didn't have second or anything. It was kind of a headline of mine. But yeah, I forget the man's name. I had it written down last week. I failed to touch on it. But there was a guy that went up in front to all the media, and he looked at him. He's like, you guys are younger. I don't think you really understand how monumental this peace deal talk is, and you just get up here and it's, you're splitting hairs and making chicken and egg. And he basically just called them out and said, like, this is a good thing. This is a great thing for everybody. This is hard. This isn't easy. This is, 20 years is, what is that? 4, almost 5 administrations.
Yeah, depending. I mean, I think in this. Well, what was 20 years ago? Was that 2000?
20 years ago was Bush.
There was only 3 administrations.
Right.
Bush had 2 terms, Obama had 2 terms, and Trump's on 1.
But you could argue before that even, with Bill Clinton's interaction. And,
yeah, it goes back farther.
Reagan's interactions. And, I mean, we could go all the way back to Crusades probably. But still, this is a good thing, and it gets demonized. It gets put in the washing machine of social media and mainstream media. And but yeah, the guy just calls him out, and it's very powerful. I urge people to look it up. Maybe we can get his name and insert it in this video somewhere. But yeah, he calls it out. Like, this is such a good thing. They're talking about winding down wars, and we can kind of segue this into a segment we wanted to touch on as well, and how I think we should just reflect on how it's been since that day. But yeah, this all comes from 9/11.
Yeah.
And I had this conversation today. I'll ask you, Dave, and then we'll touch base on the touch base on the 9/11 stuff. Do you think there will be lasting implications of COVID that will be around for the rest of our lives? And what I mean by that is, be like, maybe it will be at a grocery store, or the interviews they do on sports athletes, how it's nothing is normal, the new normal. Do you think there will be some lasting ramifications that we'll always think of, like, yeah, after COVID, this happened? It's the same kind of thing that we say with 9/11, post 9/11, post COVID crisis. Will it be one of those, like, asterisks when it comes to descriptions in human history for us Americans?
So, a couple things. I don't think it'll be talked about the same way as 9/11 was, because it was just a very different thing that was like a blatant attack on the country, and it was kind of a different thing. But I will say there's definitely going to be long-lasting implications of this, but it's probably in a different way than you were thinking. Everything that's going on now with COVID has proven that the government can, at the drop of a hat, no questions asked, mandate you to do certain things, because not enough people fought back against things like mask mandates. And when we talk about
closing local business,
yeah. So when we talk about that, like, we've talked about this before. I'm very happy to put on a mask and go inside of a store. That's fine. I don't mind doing it. The problem with the mandate is that the government has now shown that you won't say anything about it, or you won't do enough about it. So does that mean going forward, if we have a particularly bad flu season, or just a flu season in general, are we going to start wearing masks during flu season now?
We're mandating vaccines. They want to do.
Yep, we're mandating vaccines.
New York State wants to do it. Cuomo's talking about it, and you know what? I think he'll do it because he can.
That's right.
And that's what scared enough.
That's what this has shown, is that he can do it and he'll get away with it because not enough people will fight back. That's the way I think COVID will be kind of everlasting. I think COVID in general. Yeah, and COVID in general, I think it's just going to be kind of a blip in history. Just something you remember, like, hey, remember 2020 when there weren't fans in the stands for football games? It'd be kind of like a weird thing, like, oh, remember when we all had to wear masks for 9 months? But I think at the end of the day, the big long-lasting implication is that people in government officials, governors, senators, congressmen, presidents, can at the end of the day do whatever they want, and you won't fight them.
Well said. Makes you wonder if we didn't have a Second Amendment. I want to touch. What do you think about obviously, right now at 60 Minutes, they're going to be doing it by the end of the night. They're going to have that author on that's talking about the COVID tapes, about Trump downplaying the COVID tapes.
Sure.
So we'll probably be able to talk about that next week. I just wanted to reference it. Just a couple other things, and then I wanted to get back to our other segue that we had.
So we're going to do
a press conference this week, and he had a lot of good stuff in there. But go ahead. I was
just going to remind everyone that we're just going to do a little thing about 9/11 because it just happened recently. Was it Friday? It was Friday.
Yes.
And it's just like, it's one of those things. Everybody remembers where they were on 9/11, so we're just going to kind of. I think it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to just talk about where we were when it happened.
Trump gave a press conference, and I thought he had some good stuff in there. They asked him about him lying about coronavirus and everything, and he, of course, does what Trump does, and was very entertaining with his rebuttals and calling it lies and downplaying it. We'll see what the tapes come out. I tried searching for the tapes. I could not hear them, so I'm assuming it's going to be confined to this book deal because this guy wrote a book about it, and this guy is also known for writing about the Watergate scandal when it came to Nixon. So
well, he's going to have to. He's going to have to release those tapes quick, isn't he? I mean, the election's coming up, and should we do the timer? We'll do the timer. It's coming up in however many days. It'll be on the screen. You'll see it.
Yeah, we should have a timer next time too. Where I should be able to show it. But yeah, he will though. He will absolutely. I mean, there's been nothing that has been it. Obviously, all the stuff that's gone with Trump, with President Obama being scandal free, and Trump has been through a scandal every other week. It's just kind of one of those things that it will drop, just like the military tapes dropping, and just like Melania's ex-best friend is coming out saying that she had things to say, and all these. It's the grab her by the pussy stuff again, just like they did in 2016. So this was expected. But his press conference, other than him downplaying COVID, and a quick thing on that, I think it was funny because Fauci, I saw a headline. He was talking about how Trump did downplay COVID and didn't take it serious and all these other things.
Didn't everybody downplay it?
Didn't Fauci? Yeah. He said, don't wear masks. And you know why he told us to do that? Because we don't want a shortage of masks in the medical profession. So the entire federal government lied. It's not Trump. Trump, whatever his...
It was everybody.
True. Yeah,
China lied, the CDC lied, Fauci lied, politicians are out saying, run to Chinatown. It doesn't matter. Go without masks.
Yeah, we don't need to shut down the economy or the borders, and now here we are. Everybody lied. Everybody lied, and all their job. Most of the Democrats,
they either lied or didn't know.
Just
but
pass
regardless,
responsibility. Yeah, the Democrats are passing responsibility onto the federal government, and all the Republican states like Texas and Florida that were having the second surge, which numbers have not touched. The New York and California haven't been dwarfed by Florida or Georgia or Texas or these second surge states that opened or stayed open. They didn't see the same numbers.
Yeah, California.
And they were attacking those Republican towns and trying to make it about politics.
Yeah, California heard that that heat had an effect on it, so they decided to start their state on fire.
Let's not clean brush out for 30 years. It's fine. It just lets out methane or whatever it is. Yeah, but Trump in his press conference, he broke down how we are having the smallest economic contraction in all of Western governments. He said people may make fun of him, but he says we're having a very small V. What he means is the economy coming down, right? Like a depression, or we are in a depression officially, but the depression down, right? All the stocks, and then the back up. Sometimes it could be wide, and that would be longer areas of time, but he's saying it's a shallow V. That is all the numbers that's coming out. He dogged Obama pretty heavily in his press conference. He also brought up Obamagate, which is supposed to be dropping any time now. I'm sure that will happen before election too, in the below 60 days here. But he's saying we're having the strongest recovery, and we had the weakest recovery under Obama. So be it do whatever you want with that data, but that's we're handling the outbreak better than Europe did, than Spain, France, and Italy. They're having higher second numbers. I do find it a little hypocritical that the way Trump calls out Biden on some of this stuff and basically was attacking Biden and Obama about their administration and handling the SARS epidemic. And he didn't reference Ebola because not many people died, but the H1N1 vaccine.
Oh, okay,
not
SARS.
You're right. He brought up calling them out, but I find it ironic that he's being accused of downplaying COVID. It was adamant during some parts of his presidency that's like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It will just go away. The sun who kills it. And some of that may have been true, but it is a little hypocritical of him saying that, but he's, it was spun and he's trying to fight the spin. So I guess that's admirable, but the whole fucking government lied. I don't know why is this being printed? And one other thing on that COVID news, I saw a thing that a news site was talking about how I think it's 7 million people have died. 7 million. it's 170,000 or something have
Yeah, it's in that.
died from COVID.
Yeah, it's in that range. I haven't checked in a while,
And,
but it seems to be hovering in that range for a while.
Yeah, and the news even reported they're like, COVID is 5 times more deadly than the flu or something, which it could be. We don't really know anything. We said on this podcast we won't know anything about this for a while. Okay, so I just typed in on Google and got CDC numbers of how many deaths in America came from influenza. It was like 20 million.
Well, over how many years though?
The whole year, 19 and 20.
Was that cases or deaths?
I'm sorry, cases. It was cases.
Okay, so you're talking about. Okay, so you're saying cases.
Yeah, that's what it was. I'm sorry, I messed up my numbers, but it was like we've had like 7 million cases or something.
I know
That
what
was
you mean.
the
You're talking
number
about
they
cases of the flu versus cases of corona.
of COVID. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
They said we had 7 million cases of coronavirus because that's the number they push. They don't look at deaths; they look at case numbers. So I looked up the case numbers of flu in America, and it's like 10 to 20 million people got it last year. So statistically, if it's 5 times more deadly or whatever than the flu, I know these are different statistics and numbers, and I don't have them in front of me to pull up. But if we could probably do math, figure out that that's kind of it's the spin cycle. But yeah, that's all. I'm done with the COVID. I've wasted enough on that. And then just one quick other thing about Trump's press conference, and then we'll touch on our other segment. He called out Hunter Biden.
Why? What did he do?
He sold a Michigan factory to the Chinese military and has made tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars off of the Chinese government. Trump called him out on it, and I did not hear one press question about that or not. It was just under the rug.
Yeah,
it's been real. It's been fun, but not real fun. Don't worry about it. Hey, you lied about coronavirus. Joe Biden's son sold us out to China. But, Mr. President, why did you lie about coronavirus? Good talk. The whole government lied about COVID. Let's stop blaming each other. You all messed it up. I don't care if there's a supply shortage or Cuomo sent people to nursing homes. Every public official messed it up. Hopefully we learn from it. Hopefully we build a better medical system. It's a learning lesson for all of America, and we're all going through it. But it is funny. It is funny to me. So I'll ask you, David, where were you on September 11th, 2001?
So I'll have to do the math to get this exactly right, but it was 2001. I'm 30 now. I think I was in 6th grade.
Okay.
I was in middle school. I was in English class. The thing I thought was weird was that I think we've talked about this before, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not on the show, but in private. The thing I thought was weird is that they stopped school to tell everybody. Because it seems weird. We're, I don't know, what am I, 11 years old? I think I'm 11 years old at the time. I don't know.
You went home early, I'm assuming.
Yeah. But the weird thing is, I'm 11 years old, right? And, obviously I'm in 6th grade. Everyone's 11 years old or 12 years old. They're in that range. We don't even know what the World Trade Centers are. We don't know what you're even talking about when you said a plane hits them. We don't understand the scale of what's happening. Obviously, as teachers and staff and everything, they know what's going on. We're 11 years old. We have no idea. We're just here. I'm in English class. I'm learning about books and reading and grammar and whatever else. And they stopped the class. They're like, a plane hit one of the World Trade Center towers, and we're like, oh, okay, I don't know what that means. It was weird to me how they handled it. But after I went home, I watched the news, obviously, saw all the images of what was happening. That's when it hit me oh my God, this is crazy that all this is happening. The thing is, at the time, the thing that kind of made it extra scary for me is at the time my older sister was going to college in New York City, and she was literally blocks away from the trade centers. Now, I didn't know how close she was because, again, I'm 11 years old. I just know she's in New York City, and this is in New York City. But, she was fairly close. I mean, she was... And again, granted, New York City is a small city, so everybody was kind of fairly close to it. But she was, literally blocks away from what happened. But it's just crazy to me, I don't know, it's weird. Even though, at the time, I didn't understand the scale of what was happening, I still remember it. It's a weird thing. But you're a little bit younger than I am, so I'd imagine you weren't even in the old middle school. You were still in elementary school.
I was not. I was in 5th grade. I am younger than you, but I am young for my. What year did you graduate high school?
Oh wait.
Yeah, I graduated 09. So I'm only a year behind you, but with my age, it's a little more. I'm young for my class.
Gotcha. And I was old for my class.
Yeah, I have a fall birthday, so I graduated high school at 17, for example.
Yeah, so I was like December, so I think I started a year late or something. It was weird how it works.
Yeah, but you were like the oldest of your class.
Yeah.
Right? Yes. Yeah, I was almost the opposite. Because
Yeah.
the cutoffs, whatever, with my fall birthday. I was in 5th grade. Very, very similar to how you explained it. You don't understand. I don't even think I knew what New York City was. And I don't really think I really truly understood what it was until I reached my young adulthood.
Oh, really? You mean like the gravity of everything?
Yeah. I will never forget it. It's kind of, my father was very young when Kennedy was assassinated. So it's kind of, it reminded me a lot of what he's told me about Kennedy, that he just remembers it. He doesn't remember anything about it.
I was going to say, I hear a lot of people say that, like, the Kennedy thing was the same way. It was like, where were you when Kennedy was shot? It's like the same moment. It's just such a crazy thing to happen in your lifetime. Your father obviously went through multiple things. I mean, he went through Kennedy and the World Trade Centers. It's a weird thing that just sticks with you.
Yeah, and my father also saw the men land on the moon. He was young, but he remembers. My dad remembers that. Like, once again, probably very similar to our 9/11.
Well, you were talking on the last show. He was alive when black people got the right to vote.
Very young, yes, but that's how I rationalized how short of a time period that really is, because my dad, he's not even 60 yet. He was born in 63, and people of color got the chance to vote in 64. So within my father's lifetime, that's how I rationalize that is not a lot of time. My dad's lifetime, the world has changed that much.
Yeah.
And I think that's all these moments are. Even if we don't remember because we were young, we will never forget, right? We'll never remember the event. We remember growing up in the world. We remember, like I brought up earlier with COVID, well, post 9/11, this changed. Post 9/11, big things was airports, obviously. Big things was the war in the Middle East, the war on terror, Operation Iraqi Freedom, amongst countless of other things that I'm sure I'll forget. We grew up in post 9/11, and what it is, Dave, is it's the time that our entire country has held their breath all at one moment. And that's what I think we remember. That's what we'll remember about COVID as well. They're not the same thing. I don't mean to keep comparing them, but it's like that moment that society like had hiccups, and we're like, and we all experienced that same thing at the same time on the same days with the same kind of mutual feeling. We all had different. Your sister was close. People had family that died. People were in the all these layers. People were firefighters and first responders saving people, all these layers, and that guy, or a guy who knows the guy. How it's all that 6 degrees of separation from each other that realize that we are all in this together, that we all should just learn how to live and let live and love and let love. And obviously George Bush's approval rating shot through the roof. It was like the highest approval ratings ever for a modern president, and it was our Pearl Harbor. Our generation's Pearl Harbor.
Yeah. Well, the thing, and I remember
we went and dropped 2 atomic bombs for Pearl Harbor. We're now in the longest war in American history. We fought world wars sooner than we stopped the war in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Because of 9/11, we've grown up in this post 9/11 phenomena, and I almost wonder. I know you had a point, but I just want to make this quickly.
Sure.
They attacked us because we were told, and I believe it as well, they hate us because of what we represent, which is freedom for everybody, the chance, the opportunity, capitalism, free market, entrepreneurship, defending your family, loving your family, the nuclear family, pro rights for all of these groups of people, secured rights by our government, individualism, accountability, everything that our democratic republic stands for. They hated all of it. That's why they did attack us. That's why they attacked Americas. And I wonder, because it seems like some ways that we got punched in the nose, and then the blood that came out of America's nose was the things that we are ashamed of, right? And I wonder if at some degree it has helped led and fostered to some of the animosity we're seeing, because there is a lot of people that lean libertarian that are like, oh, we're just in the Middle East for oil or for profit or for batteries or for these rare earth minerals, which is true. We are over there for all those things. But that was our 9/11's 9/11. That was our Pearl Harbor. We went to world wars for Pearl Harbor. It's the same. It's not the same thing. I'm not comparing them. I'm just trying to draw the historical context that what we did for one thing, for every action, there's an opposite reaction. This is what the 9/11 reaction has been: modern warfare, modern world. This is post-World War wars and psychological warfare and training and just everything that has gone with the post 9/11 world. I cried on 9/11. I cried.
Yeah.
I tend to cry every year. Last few years, I've tried watching like documentaries and other things, and this year I didn't really do any of that. I just seen, it was all over the social timeline, so I experienced it that way. But I really just sat there for a minute and thought about the world that I understood before, the world I understood then, and the world I understand now. And I told you a few podcasts ago my experience I had and praising God and all that, man. And I am incredibly grateful. And I wish there was more solidarity. It's kind of funny. It's not funny, but it's kind of sad in a comical sense that we're going through something that, once again, is another great America hiccup in the experience of America. And we're fighting over each other, over politics, over points of view, over football, over basketball. And 19 years ago, 3,000 people nearly were murdered by terrorists in the name of evil people that hated our way of life and everything about it, that objected it and thought that we're evil.
Yeah.
And why can't we come? We can come together now, man. We're all experiencing the same thing, and it's even a more drawn out thing. Many people are out of work, 20% unemployment number. Nobody got any money. Nobody's doing this. Nobody's going to the clubs, or nobody's can go to daycare or gymnastics, or we're all experiencing the same. It's different degrees of suck, but it's all suck, and we've allowed ourselves to get divided.
Well, that's the thing is 9/11 ultimately ended up being kind of a thing that brought people together. And outside of like the story I told where everybody kind of like stopped everything and told all the kids, like everybody in my class, that it was happening, and we're 11 years old. We don't know that. I remember George Bush getting mocked by the left wing because he was reading something to children that day, and when the attack hit, somebody walked in, told them, and then he kind of paused, and then he just continued reading like nothing happened. And people were mocking him like, what kind of action is this? What kind of president doesn't respond differently? I thought he handled it beautifully. There's no need to freak anybody out. There's no need to freak children out. There's nothing he can do anyway. He's not Superman. He can't fly off and stop the next plane from hitting. He kept calm. He kept children calm, and then he went about his business and did things after that. So I honestly, personally, I thought he handled that well. I know that was kind of a thing that he got attacked for.
I don't know the exact number, but it's all like 90-something% approval rating. And then it drastically went down with all the crap of biological warfares and Al Qaeda and killing the caliphate and everything else that all the crazy.
Yeah, but there was that immediate spike of we're all in this together.
Yeah, we're like, wow, yeah, you're right, whatever. Kind of just how we acted with COVID. Like, okay, government, take my liberties, do whatever you need to do, take resources, taxes, whatever. We're here, do it, so we're all okay.
And COVID was kind of an opposite thing. It was kind of like a dividing experience. There was no binding behind it. It was people arguing about these details of, mask mandates and whether it's real, whether it's fake, if it's overblown. It seemed like there was, instead of a bonding moment, it was a dividing moment in the country.
And that's easy to do because with that, obviously, we could focus on Al Qaeda, or we could focus on a physical group or an ideology or a target. We had something to aim for, and with everything with this COVID thing, like you said, it's all been either policy or tradition or constitutionality, whatever, in all the gray areas of I don't need a mask or old people need a mask or we were lied to by our federal government. We need tests. We don't need tests. They work. They don't work. It's it's a recipe for disaster for sure.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. Once again, we weren't comparing them like they're apples to apples, but there is a little bit of nuance between both of them. And for it being 2020 and the 19 years, 9/11 election year, dealing with all this, everything we've been through in the last year, it seems the natural things going on in the world. It's like, I'm not the guy to believe in the rapture or revelation or anything, but to some people that's what they think. But we all just need to be grateful and be able to talk to each other. Just like my family friend here, I told the story of it, and you know what? I'm not saying I woke her up or anything, because it's all having your political awakening or whatever, your moment is going to happen with or without people. It's just going to happen. It can't be rushed.
Yeah.
But I want to think that some of that happened because we had dialogue. We had meaningful conversations that didn't result in any kind of violent or like lasting impact. Like, we're not friends or anything. I welcome my friends' different political opinions, and we always talk about it. And I want to think that has contributed to some of that. Just like some of the things they've said to me has contributed the way I think. And that's why it's so important to have this politics and religion discussion, especially now, especially with COVID, especially with the anniversary of 9/11, especially it being an election year. There's a lot. We have a lot to work out as a society.
Yeah,
So,
and I think having these conversations with people, it'll change a lot of minds. From experience, if she ends up, she'll probably watch this. But from experience, my girlfriend is not super right-leaning, let's say. But I always knew she wasn't as left-leaning as she thought she was. And she hasn't been red-pilled, but she kind of, in essence, got yellow-pilled. And I think the biggest thing is people on the left wing, and this is one thing I would always love to hear their answer to. A lot of them agree that there's corruption in government. So my question is to them, if we know and we agree that there's corruption in government, why would your solution logically be more government? Because you're just adding more corruption. Corruption doesn't get less when you add more. You multiply it. So
and it kind of also debunks the whole capitalism myth about how it's this whatever type of system, predatory system that preys on the weak and exploits the poor. And it does have a degree, but yeah, it's the same kind of theory of like, you want bigger government, but you hate the big government and you want more big government. So the solution, like, why is everything so expensive? Like, well, regulation. Like, well, now we need more regulation to make the prices a certain price.
Yeah, and
it's weird they hold those duplicities.
Yeah, and in a true free market capitalist system, there's nobody preying on the weak. It's all done mutually. There's mutual, beneficiaries. There's somebody who makes a good product, and there's somebody who wants to buy it. And if somebody doesn't make a good product, then they're weeded off to the, they don't exist because they didn't make a good product. And if there's somebody who not enough people want to buy it, or if there's too many people who want to buy it, it all drives the price. There's no need for regulation when it's all happening the way it's designed to happen.
Yeah, do you think those loopholes they always talk about closing is only because there's regulations for there to be loopholes in the first place?
Right. They say that like they had no part of the loopholes. Well, we need to close the loopholes. Well, why are there loopholes? Well, because we have regulations and taxes. Okay, well, why don't you just end those? No, we'll just end the loopholes. We'll just kill the regulations and the taxes, and then you don't have to worry about the loopholes.
Can't have less laws. It makes people safe, but police aren't making people safe. So we make
more laws.
We have less money. Yeah, we have more money. We have more laws and less money to make the people safe from the police, but they really need better laws, which is kind of less laws, and more funding.
Yeah, I mean, that's the right thing. If you're telling me that police are having these issues with people, then wouldn't you want less laws so there's less interactions with police and people? Don't you want to end victim?
We need more laws, David.
Get victimless crime off the books? That way you don't have to worry about police murdering people over, drugs.
I got a nice squirrel for that. Speaking of victimless crimes, I looked it up. I was in back seat of a car yesterday, which doesn't happen a lot. It's a weird feeling for me personally. I'm always used to driving. I looked it up because I heard I heard it. But come November, everybody in a vehicle in New York State will have to have a seatbelt on, no matter where you are in the vehicle, over the age of 16.
Really? Because I remember being in the
Yes.
back seat was fine. Like if you're in the back seat, you didn't have to have a seatbelt on.
Not anymore. Not anymore. New York State used to be able to tint your back windows, all of your back windows, as long as you had. If you had a 4-door car, you just could not do the 2 front doors.
Yeah,
Now
like
you
as long
can't
as you
even do your
had
back doors.
as long as you had like your 2 side mirrors, your back glass could be like painted black. It didn't matter.
Which is still the case.
Okay, but the
Which is
rear
still the
doors.
You cannot if you have a rear door, like a 4-door car, you cannot tint any of the door glass on the car.
Not
But
a-
you can
not
tint the little windows. You can tint. You can have the
quarter
banner
glass
on the front.
windows?
You can have the back window all tinted. But in the early 2000s, you used to be able to do your back doors. This is slow erosion. So I don't want to get on the seatbelt thing because that's a whole different. That's more of personal preference at some point. But coming in November, Andrew Cuomo said he's already going to pass the law that everybody in a car will have to wear a seatbelt. So I think that's a good segue, basically, about how the problem with government is they want more government, and it doesn't normally work.
No.
I have one other quick point here, Dave. I just wanted to touch base. I'm just going to kind of make a statement about it because I don't think it needs to be said. It just needs to be reported. There's plenty of reports all over the place, and depending on what news media outlet or podcast or personality you hear it from, you get a certain spin on it. But Iran, China, and the Russian government are all directly involved in election meddling on probably every front. Social media, phone spam, emails, whatever. They're using everything. And they don't care. Honestly, those governments, they don't care who's in or who's out. All they care about is destroying the integrity that we currently have in our election system as a population. It's more about a cultural feeling, not an actual cultural solution. They're not, like I said, depending on your media outlet, China wants Biden to get in. Russia wants Trump to get in. It's a lie.
Who does Iran want?
Don't care. That's a good question.
Do they want Joe Jorgensen? Is she a front for Iran?
Well, probably, according to right-wing media, it would be Joe Biden, so that they can have billions of dollars delivered on a pallet full of cash dropped from Black Hawk helicopters. But yeah, honestly, people, they don't care. They're all liars, and we do it too. I don't know what degree, but we jack up their elections. They're jacking up ours, and it's to sow political discourse in our current system, and it's only making some of the other Marxist attempts in our government easier. Antifa and everything else, sowing this dissidence.
Do they speak to like what extent they're meddling in elections?
Honestly, that was just a headline. I've heard some breakdown of it in other places. But yeah, from my understanding, like I said, I've seen these headlines all week. China, Russia, Trump, Biden. It's copy, paste, flip, flop. It doesn't matter. They don't care about who's winning. They just care about making the people not trust the process, and it's working. Republicans, for example, with mail-in voting, and then the Democrats don't think that Trump will step down. So we're seeing the culture war intensify because of foreign interference. So once again, this is why we at December, we push for conversation.
Yeah.
It's not about debating. They're not debates. They're not rants. These are conversations that need to be had. And we let our foreign competitors win. And this is how countries lose their superpower status. They fall from within, they crumble from within, and they're taken over by, the one that's been preparing, such as a place like China. They've been preparing to be number one, and they want it. And they will do anything they can to change that. So we got to have the conversations, we got to talk, and we can't do it with biased journalism, and we can't do it with people that aren't willing to hear other people speak.
No, and if you want to be part of that conversation, be part of December Nation, you got to push the bottom right of the screen. Subscribe. It takes 2 seconds. By the end of my sentence, you could have subscribed already. What are you doing? Bottom right. Hit the subscribe. Come on. Getting annoying. Just subscribe.
Facebook and YouTube.
Yeah. And comment. Comment on the videos. I'll comment back. Ryan, we'll comment. We'll talk to you.
Yeah, we will talk to you. We appreciate everybody watching, sticking around through the whole video. We've been looking at our analytics, not to get beating our chest or anything ego wise, but thank you, everybody. You guys have watched, and that's all I can say. We appreciate it. We're humbled by it. I don't want to speak for Dave, but I feel a personal responsibility to come and try to get my best on these weekly shows, and I couldn't do it without you. I wouldn't do it without you. And if you like the video, you share the video. Yeah, I'm Ryan, and this is Dave from December 1773, and we hope to see you next week.
Awesome. We will see you then because you will be subscribing. I'm going to hit it hard. You're going to subscribe. I'm telling you. If you don't subscribe, you're missing out on so much good stuff. It's crazy.
Yes, sir. More to come. All right, brother, man. I hope you have a good rest of your week. I'll talk to you during the week, and I'll see you next week for the show.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Right,
Thanks,
bye.
everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.